So essentially, on the Ayodhya dispute, the Politburo came to the conclusion that verdict has been delivered, but not justice. We have always maintained, the CPIM, since the dispute began, that in the absence or failure of a negotiated settlement, judicial verdict is the only way to resolve the dispute. The verdict has now come. But there are certain very serious questions that arise from various premises that the verdict is based on. First, the verdict speaks of the rule of law, and a title dispute must be in the realm of the secular, and therefore it cannot be influenced by belief or faith. But finally, by enlarging a title dispute between two petitioners or a few petitioners, they enlarged the ambit to talk about Hindus and Muslims. Hindus and Muslims are not the petitioners here. But by enlarging it to encompass the entire communities, they have actually widened the scope, and in the process, belief and faith seems to have taken the upper hand in the final verdict that has been delivered. 1992 destruction, they say, was a serious aberration, violation of law. But then the disputed land has been handed over to the very sections who actually led the agitation for the liberation of and finally ended up in demolishing it. They have been rewarded. The 1949 placing of the Ramlalla idols, the court says that was also a serious violation of law. But the land has finally been given to those very people whom the court itself says have violated the law. And all the other premises that say that Muslims have not been able to prove that from 1528 to 1857 they were in exclusive possession of the Babri Masjid. This is an amazing claim, because from 1528 till the annexation of Awadh by the British in 1856, for more than 3 centuries, that area was first under the Mughal rule and then under the rule of the Awadh Nawabs. So obviously a mosque built there was meant to serve the purpose of a mosque, and people were praying in that mosque. How they came to this premise is also not understandable. Again, the Places of Worship Act of 1991, the verdict says, very appreciating that law, saying that that should be maintained. But there is no way in which they said that should be enforced. The special provisions under Article 142 of the Constitution should have been invoked to bar any further disputes being raised, like in Kashi and Mathura, which the RSS chief has said very threateningly that they are not on the agenda for now. Not on the agenda for now has the potential of saying that they can be raked up anytime in the future. And the court does not give any stricture as to how to prohibit that. So, given these such matters, the destruction of the Babri Masjid case is now languishing for nearly 30 years. Alke Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Kalyan Singh, etc., all the BJP stalwarts are named in that case. If they say that's a violation of law, what is the manner in which that justice will be delivered in that case and the guilty punished? And this verdict, which they have now given, should not impinge on delivery of justice in that case. So these are the various serious questions that arise. So while the verdict has finally come, and therefore the dispute should be settled on the basis of the verdict, but justice has eluded. Justice has not been delivered, we feel, fully in this particular case. Regarding the Sabarimala review petition verdict, this is also a very strange thing that the Honorable Supreme Court had done under the leadership of the now retired Chief Justice of India, that instead of reviewing the 2018 verdict, they have expanded the scope of the issue, calling in practices from other religions and other faiths and how they are in consonance with the constitution, and set up a 7-judge bench to examine all these issues put together. That is, the Sabarimala case verdict is now left ambiguous and there is a lot of question marks over it. The 3-2 division in the 5-member bench, the dissenting judges have said that 2018 judgment or the verdict stands. The majority have said we have to wait for the 7-judge bench. Now, in the meanwhile, what happens in Sabarimala? The court is not clear. Whether the 2018 thing stands and the authorities must take all measures to ensure that women can enter, or whether the majority one stands and that we'll have to wait till the 7-judge verdict comes. Now, this uncertainty has created further problems. As far as the CPIM is concerned, we are very clear. Gender equality is something that we are committed to, and it is a guarantee under the Constitution. And that should be maintained, and the court should come out with a very definitive stand as soon as possible. Otherwise, this sort of uncertainty and ambiguity will continue. On the Rafale judgment, where the Supreme Court dismissed the review petition, the court itself made it clear that this dismissal of the review petition does not in any way bar investigations into charges of corruption and misappropriation that agencies like the CBI or the others can do. All of us know under this Modi regime, the CBI's credibility as probably is at its lowest. So therefore, we reiterate our demand that a joint parliamentary committee should be constituted to investigate and probe this scam, the Rafale scam, and that is the only way out. As far as Jammu and Kashmir situation is concerned, it is now more than 100 days when these restrictions have been in place. Even today, the internet doesn't function. SMS messaging is also prohibited, or even on the phones that have now slowly started reworking some of the postpaid connections. But the economy is in shatters because if it's tourism or apples or fruits or even saffron, most of these orders are based on online communications, online payments, and the GST returns also are on online. Now for 100 days that is not functioning means there is absolute paralysis of the economic activity. On an average, the apple trade in Kashmir alone used to be around 10,000 crores of rupees annually. This year, that has been completely destroyed. So we demand that the Modi government declare this as a national calamity and adequately compensate the apple growers and other people of Kashmir who have suffered this very serious loss, economic loss. And we are demanding that immediately all the prisoners, those who have been kept without any charges, without being arrested, without any law being invoked against them, who are there in house arrest, must immediately be released, along with hundreds of others who reportedly are in various jails of our country. So we think that this step, the easing of all restrictions or withdrawing all restrictions, release of the political leaders and other people arrested or kept under detention, that must immediately take place. Apart from this, the Politburo also discussed the very, very serious economic crisis in our country. The government is in denial, but the fact is for the second quarter, your GDP rate has fallen. By international norms, 2 consecutive quarters if the GDP falls, the economy is in a recession. The Indian economy has now entered a recession, where our industrial growth has seen a record plummeting downwards. Demand for power has fallen below the level of what it was 12 years ago. Your unemployment is very severely on the high, and the consumer spending survey of the NSSO has shown after 40 years there is a decline in people's expenditures in rural India, which is a very serious matter because that means even subsistence living is becoming difficult. And this report has now been withdrawn by the government, saying that there are some data problems. This government is specializing on data fudging, and India's data credibility is at the lowest internationally, and that is leading to our global ratings being downgraded. This will further add to the problems. Now, what we are asking for is that this recession is because of the lack of purchasing power in the hands of the people. And the way out is to increase this purchasing power. How can that be done? By massive public investments to build our much needed infrastructure that will generate lakhs and lakhs of new jobs. And when these youth of ours today get these jobs and they start earning, and when they start spending, the closed factories and other enterprises can start reviving. The worst is even your IT sector, there is a large scale retrenchment. Industry, IT sector, agriculture of course in a state of complete distress, suicides by farmers is on the rise. So in this situation, the government, instead of doing this, of increasing public investment, is on the contrary doling out more and more concessions and tax cuts to the rich. 2.15 crore rupees has been, two packages of concessions have been given to the rich. If this amount of money was actually invested through public investments to build our infrastructure, that would have led to increase in the purchasing power and domestic demand, and would have hopes of an economic revival would be there. But they are doing just the opposite. And in the process, they have now embarked on a large-scale privatization of all public sector undertakings. Public sector is the people's assets, country's assets. And its sale for those who can make super profits of the corporate cronies of this government. That is not in the country's interest, its economic sovereignty, or in the interest of crores of people who are employed by the public sector. They will all be retrenched, unemployment will grow further, and for the Dalits and the Adivasis, whatever little benefit you get out of reservations in jobs, which are applicable only in the public sector now, unfortunately in the private sector not yet, so that will diminish in a very big way. That will lead to further marginalization of these sections. So the Politburo has said that we will conduct a national level campaign against this large scale privatization through mass agitations, protests, conventions and various other forms all through the month of December. These protest actions will culminate in the January 8th All India strike that has been called by the central trade unions. The party's support to that strike will be in this form of doing a month-long campaign, eventually culminating in that strike. So these are some of the basic issues that we have highlighted by the PV, but this is our call, that the month of December will be observed all over the country in protest against this economic ruin of our people and the economy, specifically against privatization. I say, saying stop privatization, save public assets. Under these slogans, this campaign will be conducted all through the country and culminate in the January 8th strike, our support to the strike called by the central trade unions, the All India strike. So these are some of the major issues that we have taken up. So now,
so anything on JNU, the students are protesting?
Yeah, we strongly condemn the JNU action against the JNU students. I mean, I have the sort of images that are being shown on the television. I mean, the police deployment is much, much larger than what we have seen during the emergency. This is Modi's emergency, in a more vigorous and lethal form. And the democratic right to peacefully protest and go to the parliament with their grievances of the students is their elementary democratic right, and they not being allowed is a complete denial of this. We strongly condemn this. The way the police has been handling the students, the number of people who have been arrested and beaten up. I mean, this is not the way to deal with democratic protest, and there's strong condemnation and opposition to it.
Sitaram, as far as Sabrimala is concerned, when you say there is ambiguity, how do you explain the position of your party's government in Kerala when they force women who want to enter Sabrimala, they are forcing them to go back? How do you explain that?
That is what I told you. There is an ambiguity on the verdict.
No, that means you are explaining it as if there is a ban. When there is ambiguity, means it's both.
Precisely, please try to understand. 2 judges of the 5 men say that the 2018 verdict stands. The 3 judges, including the Chief Justice, then Chief Justice, have not made it clear whether it will stand or not stand. So the government is saying, clarify. We are under oath to implement the Constitution of India. And the Supreme Court verdict will be carried out. But Supreme Court, please clarify what is the position. Do we have to wait till the 7-member bench to deliver their verdict? Or whether 2018 verdict continues to remain in force? The court has to clarify.
But the court has not said that there is a stay. First of all, they have categorically said there is no stay.
That's only 2.
No.
Only two dissenting judges have said.
No, now you are making more confusion. November 13, 2018, the court has very clearly said there is no stay. You all are aware of it, number 1. Number 2, have the PV suggested to the government or your party in Kerala to ask the government to go for a clarification? If you have ambiguity, you don't want...
The government has already announced that it is seeking clarification.
It is seeking clarification. And secondly, what is the party planning any action against ministers who make anti-women statements?
Like?
And you are committed to equality of women. Your own ministers, Devasam Board minister, for example, have made anti-women statements. Means stopping women, we are not going to allow women, all those things are there.
I don't know what was said. As far as I can tell you, the CPIM is unequivocally committed to gender equality. And that is something on which there can be no compromise as far as we are concerned. I don't know what statements who made, etc. I am not really aware of it.
You said that Sabrimala is not the place to join activism.
That is, I don't know, these are all statements you are telling me about, no? And they are all said in a language I don't understand. So therefore, therefore, please be very clear. I can speak on behalf of the party. And I am saying that very clearly, this is the party's position on gender equality.
But comrade, Devasam Mandri himself said that we are not allowed women activists to Sabrimala.
That's what I am telling you. All these statements, you are conveying it to me.
There are people in the Politburo who understand Malayalam. Right now in Delhi sitting there. No, if you ask them.
Well, let me find out who said what and what. But that is not my concern. That is the government. Let them now. They have said that they are seeking clarification, and they have proceeded to seek clarification. Let that come and let us see. I mean, whatever be the verdict, that will be implemented.
Okay, you talked about the attack on JNU. Now, do you support the movement as well, the students' movement in JNU? It's also turning in a way violent.
Well, I don't think so. From the images I have seen, it is not the students turning violent, it is the police that's turned violent. And the way the students have been dragged on the roads, that's why I was saying that we went through the emergency of Mrs. Gandhi. Large-scale arrests and all of us were detained and all of us had to go through various ordeals. But it was never this bad as what are the images that are being shown on the television today.
So thousands of students are marching towards parliament. If they are allowed, will not it be a security issue?
I'm sorry?
As students are marching towards parliament, if they are allowed to reach to the parliament, will not it be a security issue as this?
How can we have been on the gates of the parliament a number of times when we were students. And nothing happened. Not a stone was thrown on the parliament. No destruction ever took place. It is you provoke violence like the police is trying to provoke now. Even then the students have shown a lot of restraints and remained peaceful. That's why peaceful protests and demonstrations are an elementary democratic right under a democracy. If you prevent that, then you are exercising extreme authoritarian control and methods.
Sir, on the Ayodhya verdict, you said that it is verdict delivered but not justice. Now, the All India Muslim Council Law Board has said that it's going to file a review. Recommend that. And now, what redressal do you hope for, even for the
I've said it very clearly right in the beginning. We said the only way out is a judicial verdict. That verdict has been delivered. So that is on the basis of that verdict, this dispute must end. Now, those who want to under law, everybody has a right to seek a review. So those who want to seek a review, it's their democratic right. So let them do it. But as far as we are concerned, we said the dispute can either be settled through a negotiated settlement, failing which a judicial verdict. That verdict has come.
Sindara, when you say your party is committed to women's equality, does that mean you are committed to, support women's entry in Shabarimala, women of all ages?
We have women's equality means equality in all spheres.
Yes.
That answers your question.
Good, I'm just answering.
That answers your question. I mean, of course it does.
I'm talking about Shabarimala per se. Shabarimala, will you support it? Because that's a
All spheres includes every area in the country and every aspect.
So what is the stand of CPM in entry to Muslim mosque?
In?
What's the stand of CPM in women's entry to Muslim mosque?
Mosques. I told you, I mean, the equality should be there for all, everywhere.
So you
Yeah.
did not tell us whether you welcome the review or not.
Huh?
Do you welcome it?
I'm sorry?
Do you welcome the decision of review of the Ayodhya verdict?
Why should I welcome or reject? The people are exercising their democratic rights. What is there to welcome or reject?
Because there's a hope of redressal, because you don't agree with the
Whatever that may be, it is their democratic right. Anybody and everybody has democratic right to seek a review. Some are exercising that right, so let them.
There's a new report on the electoral bond which says that RBI had also opposed it at the time of introduction. Now, there's a case in May, the Supreme Court had said the elections are upon us, so we now after that there have been two tranches also of electoral bonds. Is there any move from the parties in your position to kind of ask for the hearing of?
Yes, in fact, my petition to the Supreme Court is still pending. I have asked for the scrapping of these electoral bonds. And in the meanwhile, what has appeared today on the basis of documents that have been unearthed, it is absolutely proves, completely what we have said, that electoral bonds was the way to legalize political corruption. 6,000 crores of rupees have moved through electoral bonds to political parties. The BJP is the only political party that has not submitted its account so far. All the other parties which have declared what amounts that they've got from them is a small pittance of the 6,000 crores. So we had taken a decision that we are against these electoral bonds, so we will not accept the electoral bonds, and we have not accepted any electoral bonds. So the BJP has now got to come clean. Why are they not showing their account? The first tranche for which accounts were given then to the authorities showed that 95% of the electoral bonds went to the BJP in the first tranche. That was only 200 odd crores or something. Now it is 6,000 crores. They have legalized political corruption, and that has ruined both democracy and the economy.
So Kerala police has to use UAPA charges. What is the party's stand on this?
Party had opposed this UAPA and the amendments to it in the parliament, and we voted against it. Our stand is in opposition to UAPA. We think it's draconian provisions. But it's the law of the land. The state government, despite our opposition, the state government there is the law of the land, but what are the legal ways in which they can provide relief and get out of this case? That is being examined, and that will be carried out.
Do you think you still hold that view that it is an act to target Muslim youth? Because meeting with the President of India also, that this UAP is used to target Muslim youth. In Kerala also, this has been used to target Muslim youth. How do you...
We have not target the draconian provisions to target anybody the government feels that needs to be targeted. Anybody dissenting from the government can be targeted. Now the amendment that this government has brought about says that any individual can be declared a terrorist. And once you are declared a terrorist, they have inverted the laws of jurisprudence to say that instead of saying that I am innocent till proven guilty, this law says I am guilty till I prove my innocence. So it has got a danger for everybody. Anybody who wants to exercise democratic rights of expression can be a target.
But how do you explain the logic we just don't understand in Kerala, that on the one hand you say your party is totally opposed, it's draconian, it's the creation of BJP, the provisions and all, but your party, your government uses it, and particularly against Muslims.
It's a law of the land now. It's not our government using it, or it's a central law. We oppose the formation of Jharkhand, Uttarakhand and Chhattisgarh, but when the states were formed, we contest elections.
It's not that simple.
No, you say you opposed it, so why are you contesting elections? Is there logic? That is now when it becomes the law, but even despite our opposition, that is something that will be the law.
But what is the history? The majority of victims belong to a particular community.
I'm sorry?
If you see the history of UAPA law and the target, the majority of victims belongs to the Muslim community.
Unfortunately, yes. Very unfortunately, and the target, not only this, you also had you had the Pota earlier. That was also, exclusively used for targeting, which was then pointed out, and then we had to withdraw it when the UPA government came. So this is the unfortunate manner in which our democracy is being distorted, and democratic rights and elementary, fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution are being deprived of, and particularly to certain sections.
But what is party's understanding of the standard narrative that if you find a pamphlet something to do with Maoists, you brand that person as a Maoist or a sympathizer of Maoist?
That is why we have said very clearly, this sort of branding is something we don't accept. You substantially show what is the evidence you have. But unfortunately, the law as amended today doesn't require the authorities to show anything.
Do you mean that what happened in Kerala is only a police action
What?
on UPA?
I don't know what happened in Kerala, you ask them and the authorities there. I'm talking by parties of position on the UAPA.
What does it mean? You are the General Secretary and that is the only...
I am the General Secretary of the party, not of the government.
That is the only place where your party is in power and you are not...
I am not ignorant at all. I am telling you the Kerala government is exploring the ways in which redressal can be found legally within the law.
One side you are saying it is unfortunate. One side you are saying it is unfortunate. One side you are saying it is unfortunate that minorities are targeted under UAPA. On the other side, your government is targeting.
Our government is not, it is a central law. How many times should I tell you?
So that central law will be a model law for Kerala police.
Not only Kerala police, for all over India. You are an Indian. When a law is made, it's valid for you also.
Yes.
Not only for Kerala government and Kerala people.
So Kerala police will simply adopt it.
They are also Indian citizens, like you.
No, you are saying that it has been misused. So, what is the justification for this?
What is the justification? They have said that these are the charges against them, they have picked him up. The government there is saying the legal methods in which they can be provided relief. We are against the use of we are against UAPA and indiscriminate use.
There is a contradiction. You are saying that your police will pick up people, your police will find...
It's not my police, please understand.
CPM
No, it is not my police at all.
Okay,
And don't make no mistakes, neither your police. It works under laws.
Agree.
It works under laws, and these laws are central law. UAPA is a central law.
Agree. Sitaram, the point is that you are saying police have taken action against the same police's government is looking for relief. There is a contradiction.
No.
You arrest people and you are looking for
No,
relief.
we don't arrest people. Police under the law has arrested
Yes,
people.
Police is under the government.
Police under the law has arrested people. And for that, how to provide relief, that is the legal way.
You are looking
See,
for relief for the people whom you have arrested.
who you have arrested?
The arrest
As a Malayali, do you say you arrested them? Is that correct? So therefore, don't be illogical. The law of the land, according to the law of the land, some action is being taken. We are saying how that can be done. As far as the party is concerned, we are opposed to it.
It is not the national investigation agency, but the Kerala police arrested.
Yes, this law is for everybody. You don't seem to understand. Your Kerala government and Kerala police are not above the central laws.
No, there is a law for electoral bond. Your government is not implementing it. It means the Kerala government. Means there are so many things, even if the center does something.
Where is Kerala government involved in electoral bond?
I'm saying there are so many things which the government center has a
Law and order
policy.
is
You
the
cannot
state
implement
subject.
it.
Sir, law and order is the state subject. That's why we are asking this question. Law and order is the state subject. That's why we are asking this
Law and order is a state subject, but the laws governing law and order are central laws. Understand? And secondly, you see, electoral bonds, Kerala branches of the banks have also sold electoral bonds.
Sir, you are
Find out before making such ridiculous allegations.
Kerala has witnessed repeated Maoist encounters. What is the party stand on that?
Well, the government is there answering that, yeah. They got the party stand on it. Every law and order problem in one particular state should be my concern. Peculiar.
There is no scope for a humane approach from the part of CPIM or Kerala government in this regard.
Ask them. Go there and please ask them. You have the democratic right. Please go and ask them.
No, your party is not in the state.
Has the PP given any direction to the party leadership in Kerala? The party leadership
Regarding
this UFPA?
No, the party leadership in Kerala is fully aware of the CPIM's position on UAPA. No need of any direction. If anything that has happened there, what is the way thing, the government is exploring, that they'll see.
What is your party's position on citizenship bill that is likely to come up in the
Citizenship Amendment Bill. Our party is completely opposed to linking religion with citizenship. This we think is completely tantamount to a gross violation of our constitution, which grants not only citizenship but fundamental rights. I quote the constitution, irrespective of caste, creed or sex, unquote. This is the Indian constitution. This cannot be violated. Okay? Thank you.
ഫൈൽസിനെ പറ്റി പറയാൻ എല്ലാവർക്കും മടിയാണ്. പക്ഷെ അനുഭവിച്ചവർക്കറിയാം അതിന്റെ വേദന എന്തെന്ന്. ശരിക്കും മലബന്ധം വന്നപ്പോഴേ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ദിവസേന ഒരു ഗുളിക മാത്രം കഴിച്ചാൽ മാറിക്കിട്ടും. ഏതായാലും ഞാൻ രക്ഷപ്പെട്ടു. ഹരിദ്രയുള്ളതുകൊണ്ട്. നമ്മുടെ പാരമ്പര്യത്തിൽ നിന്നുള്ള മരുന്നല്ലേ ഹരിദ്ര.
ഹരിദ്ര പൈൽസിനുള്ള ആയുർവേദ ഫോർമുല.